This is Andy Crouch from All About Beer. I wanted to take a second to thank Highland Brewing for coming on as an underwriter. We appreciate having the support of Asheville's original craft brewery and love that the folks at Highland get how important it is to support beer journalism. If you want to join Highland and the other companies helping us pay our writers, podcasters, and artists, check out allaboutbeer.com/support. It's an affordable way to join the All About Beer community.
Welcome to Drink Beer, Think Beer, the podcast that gets to the bottom of every pint. I'm John Holl. Let's go to the movies. It's a conversation with Josh Miller of Flicks Brewhouse, which is a chain of breweries and movie theaters that brings pints to the silver screen experience. But first, and I've been talking about this on the show for a while, and you often hear Andy Crouch at the cold open of the shows, the only way we're able to keep bringing original content to the beer industry and to curious beer drinkers is through your support. We've created an affordable underwriting program that is easy on your budget, helps you get visibility, and is an altruistic way to directly fund writers, photographers, and editors. Please visit allaboutbeer.com/support to learn more. When you're at the website, poke around a bit, read some of the recent articles, peruse the archives, which go all the way back to 1979. You can tune into other podcasts like Brew to Brew and the All About Beer podcast. You won't be disappointed. You can also follow us on social media at All About Beer to keep up with everything else we have going on. We'll get into this conversation in a moment, but first, here is a note from this episode's sponsors. We thank them for their support. We hope you'll give them your business.
Hi, this is Tim Shasha from Berkeley Yeast. Our mission is to give brewers better tools that are affordable and easy to use. Our team has been developing Tropics yeast for nearly 10 years, and we just launched it in a dried format. This is a yeast strain with high thiol biotransformation activity, which means it's great for making tropical forward hazy IPAs. I'll tell you more about how it works later in the show, or you can check the show notes for our recent article called All About Thiols.
Calling all hopheads. Dogfish Head's 60-minute IPA is a fantastically hoppy India Pale Ale that's beautifully balanced thanks to their unique continual hopping method. Delivering a pungent hop flavor that isn't crushingly bitter, 60 Minute is continually hopped throughout the boil for a full 60 minutes. Starting to see where the name comes from? Check out dogfish.com to learn more and to find some 60 Minute near you. Dogfish Head Craft Brewery, Milton, Delaware. Please drink responsibly.
A few weeks ago, a news item caught my attention. Flicks, a company that operates breweries inside of movie theaters with locations in several Midwestern states, had purchased 4 Texas locations of the Alamo Drafthouse, which is a company with a similar business model in that it plies strong adult beverages with movies of all ratings. I'd visited a Flicks a few years back when I was in Des Moines, Iowa, for that state's annual Brewers Conference. The setup was cool. The brewery downstairs with a full bar upstairs in the lobby, just off the entrances to all of the theaters. It's a cool concept, and so with the latest news, I wanted to dive a little deeper. Josh Miller, who has been with the company mostly since 2015 and has had various brewing roles and is now the National Brewery Operations Manager, joins me to talk about what goes into running a slew of breweries, restaurants, and cinema houses and how all the various worlds intersect. Here's our conversation. Josh, thanks for doing this. I'm curious to hear the intersection of craft beer, which is facing headwinds right now, and the movie theater industry, which what I read is also facing headwinds right now. And are these kindred souls, kindred spirits, kindred businesses?
I don't think so. People who love film and people who love craft beer are always going to be around. One thing that we really do differently at Flicks is we're so hospitality first. We truly believe in giving our guests an experience when they come in. We're not just a candy and concessions type theater. We have a full kitchen, and we also make all of our beer on site. So it really is a full experience that people can't get anywhere else. And that's really what keeps people coming back is the quality that we do, the hospitality that we offer. It really transcends industry trends.
I mean, this seems like an idea. So I had the opportunity to visit one of the locations back in late 2023, and just enjoyed the heck out of it when I was there. And it was like, this makes sense. How come there's not more of this? And obviously, the company is growing now, but at the beginning, this was kind of a radical idea, right? And I'm wondering, why, if you have a reason why, you know, we haven't seen more of this. People find a good idea and then, other people try to replicate it. It's why we have, Burger King, over McDonald's, like that kind of thing. But is there I don't know, like walk me through some of the history and then, you know, why it works for you guys and maybe
Yeah, so
why,
let's
yeah.
let's jump into the history. So Flix was founded in 2011 by Alan Reagan and Walt Powell. Alan was in real estate. He had a building that was opening up some space, and he had to put something new into it. So this is when, dine-in cinema was really just starting to become a thing. And he really liked the idea, and he knew Walt Powell, who was one of the founders of ratebeer.com. And Walt had mentioned, hey, dine-in cinema is cool, but what if we did dine-in cinema with a brewery? Nobody's doing that. And it really, sparked from there. Opened the first store in Round Rock, Texas. Shortly after, one of Alan's friends in Des Moines, Iowa, also had a space open and had asked Alan if he wanted to bring the concept up to Des Moines. Fast forward another year, we're in Carmel, Indiana. Another year, Albuquerque, New Mexico, and now we're up to 15 locations around the country. And why we haven't grown as quickly is a couple of reasons. Firstly, we're not franchised. We own everything that we do, and it's very important to us because again, what we do is all about hospitality and offering the highest quality possible. So we don't want to have another group come in and run these for us. We feel very confident about the way that we do things, which is how we've been able to recently acquire another 4 stores from another group because we really do just offer the best hospitality. So, and then on top of that, movie theaters are tens of thousands of square feet. And real estate is, of course, one of the biggest barriers to getting into it. After that, projectors cost an absolute fortune. Breweries obviously cost a lot. So, we're doing it all ourselves, not franchising. So it is, it's been growth as it comes, but we're really situated now in a position where, I think we can really start to grow with speed.
So it's interesting, right? Because you mentioned the restaurant component, you mentioned the kitchen component, and then the brewery component, and then obviously the theater component as well. And I know that there are handbooks that come with, okay, well, you want to have a brewery that also has a restaurant or a food component. Here's places that have done this before. When you add on a cinema and all that comes with it, because it's not just, movies. I know places rent it out for corporate events or, you can have meetings and, it's also, the location that I was in is in the middle of a shopping mall. It, what what have been some of the challenges of the movie theater side that like normal people wouldn't think about when we're just showing up, to catch the latest Marvel movie?
Yeah, the theater side offers a lot of opportunity, and it also has a lot of we'll call them speed bumps. It obviously brings in a lot of people. Hollywood are some of the best marketers in the world, and they really drive people to see film. But at the same time, when you work with these studios, you have to abide by their rules. So, in naming our beers and our cocktails and things that we do, we a lot of times do have to get studio approval. In some cases, some studios don't let you connect alcohol at all. And some will give you options of what they think you should do. So we do have to work very closely with the studios, with film, and that can be a challenge, and sometimes they do offer us some really good tips and tricks of things to do, and it can really help us out. So it's definitely a complex relationship. It's definitely more involved than just a restaurant brewery. But we are very fortunate to have the marketing that drives the admits with film.
So let's talk about the beer and what works for folks, who are coming out, what doesn't, I mean, I think about, what I'm looking for on a normal night out can vary. Um, I'm also one of these guys, with who has to make frequent trips to the loo. And so when I'm at a movie theater, I'm typically not, ordering a soda or anything just because I don't want to miss crucial minutes of plot in a movie that I'm seeing for the first time. But what works, beer recipe wise?
So, we are, people call us a corporate brewery. I don't really like to think of us in that way because in 2025, we actually made almost 600 different SKUs across all of our breweries.
Jeez.
So we make a ton of beer. And we only have what we call our core four. So at each location, we do make our core four. All the brewers make those. Literally everything else that we made were local seasonals.
So walk me through the core four first.
Yeah, so our core four, we have Lucha Libre, our Mexican light lager. Actually just won a gold medal at the Texas Brewers Cup.
Okay.
Slightly new recipe that we just tweaked a little bit. So this is the first competition we got it into, and we're super excited.
How'd you tweak it?
Changed a couple of things. We have some new malt contracts that we've been working on, and also different yeast.
Okay.
So we're very excited about that one. It's by far our best seller. A lot of our stores are located in Texas in the Southwest. So for that one to get gold in that area is a huge accomplishment for us. We then have Nebulous, which is our hazy pale ale. Pretty Citra mosaic heavy. We are getting ready to do a new iteration of it that I'm really excited about. And like any brewery, we do look at, well, maybe not all breweries, but we do look at feedback both internally and externally, and we do gather a lot of data about what people think about our beers, and we do try to adjust even our core brands a little bit to match what our guests really want. So we do take all that sensory feedback. We do look at it in a pretty extensive data-based way. So I'm really excited about what we're doing with that beer. We also have Luna Rosa, which is our raspberry wheat. And then we have our 10-day Scottish ale. So those are our cores. Like I said,
I just want to go back that a Scottish ale is a core.
It is, yes.
So it must sell well. You just kind of glossed over it, that'd be the one that I would lead with. We make a Scottish ale at all of our locations that people still support and love. That makes my heart happy.
The Scottish is kind of a happy medium of that malty amber, but also appeases some of our stout drinkers who we don't have a core offering for that anymore. So it is kind of that, it's obviously our slowest selling core beer, but it is that one that does make, some different groups happy, as being a kind of happy medium. So those are our core four. We are looking at adding a couple of additional cores, just to kind of match industry trends. But yeah, so everything else that we do though is just our locals, and how we come up with those is pretty much entirely based or left up to the local brewer. So,
Sure.
My job is we obviously operate now in 15 different markets. So part of my job is to analyze our internal data and market external data, to see, what's really selling and what's going to work well for us. Because one thing that we have to keep in mind is we're not just a craft brewery. We are a theater. We are a restaurant. So we have to have a lot of offerings to hit a lot of different options that people want. So in those, almost 600 beers that we did, in San Antonio, for instance, I really drive to our Mexican dark lager. So it's actually a regional core beer that we're doing now year round. Same thing with El Paso. We're doing that same beer. But in Carmel, Indiana, in Des Moines, Iowa, and Albuquerque, New Mexico, we can't not have a West Coast IPA. In most markets now, you can't go
Sure.
without that. And then at the same time, for whatever reason, Oklahoma City and Oklahoma, we can't go without a Belgian blonde ale in that location. We have one on year round, and it just sells like crazy. And then our Dallas market, blonde ale is still a very large thing there, and that is actually one store where we do sell a lot of Scottish ale. So we really do dig deep into the data of what sells well, within our own concept, but also externally of our concept as well.
Do you guys have a limit on ABV?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
We obviously want to do it with, good standards and good practices, but we're not really. A couple of our locations still do some bigger beers. Actually, one of our top selling beers we do each year in Carmel, Indiana, is called Triple Carmelite. It's our Belgian triple that we do. And it's depending on year, batch to batch, about 9.5, 10%. We also do quads in several stores, Belgian quads that are very popular and people ask for it each year. And we also do some barrel aging, of course, not as much anymore. But at one point, our Des Moines and Carmel stores, that's kind of what we were known for, was our barrel aged programs that we did.
Just, I mean, I guess it's not really too much different from a bar where you can, monitor how people are. Like, I'm not accusing people of getting, hammered during a film, but it's, there's got to be some challenges of keeping an eye on folks to make sure they're not getting rowdy.
Yeah, and it goes back to what you mentioned earlier. We don't really have those issues because people don't want to have too many drinks, because they will have to get up and go to the bathroom, and they don't want to miss their film. So that usually kind of takes care of itself for us. But we do track it with our POS system, see how many beers everybody has had and all that stuff. So it's pretty standard, I would call industry practice. But we do have the benefit of people kind of naturally not wanting to drink too much because they don't want to get up too many times.
Perfect. Josh, bear with me. We're going to take a quick break and then we're going to come right back and continue this conversation.
Tim here again from Berkeley Yeast. Our Tropics yeast is based on a London ale strain, but we added a new gene to its genome that codes for a unique thiol-releasing enzyme. The enzyme converts the precursors in barley to free thiols that smell and taste like passionfruit and grapefruit. It's super clean. No off flavors like burnt rubber or other sulfurous notes, just tropical aromatics. You don't have to do anything unusual either, like mash hopping. Just pitch dry Tropics and supercharge your hazy IPA.
Okay, and I'm back with Josh Miller. Josh, so we're talking about some of the beers that you guys have at the various movie houses, and you also have the kitchen component as well, right? So how much do those two sides talk to each other? Because again, when I sort of think about good beer bars or beer bars and food, a lot of time it's the same thing that you would get at a movie theater. You can get, a burger at some of the dine-in options, or, you can get, nachos in a plastic cup. There seems to be some overlap between movie theater snacks and bar snacks and what I've experienced at some of the dine-in places, as well as some brew pubs. So, do the kitchen and the brew houses talk to each other?
Yeah, and I think that's really something we've gotten a lot better about over the years. Is really so it kind of had to come together at one point, where we were kind of two separate areas, and it just didn't mesh well. So we started doing what we call our fan fests and our brew fests and our first fest, and that was really a big turning point for our company to really kind of bring everything together. We started this, back in 2017-ish. is when it really started the program started really picking up. But it really forced us to come together a lot more often to make sure everything was a cohesive unit. So now we've got David Mie, who's our vice president of operations and also oversees food and beverage, and Mark Hernandez, who's our executive KM. The three of us are pretty much in constant contact now, working on making sure everything is a cohesive unit, making sure when we do things like our first fest, which we have our next one coming up, is Project Hail Mary, and it is already breaking all of our records because we've really gotten it to a point where it is a very high level offering. It's a paired meal with drinks and everything. So, that really has brought us into a really cohesive group now where I feel like the pairings that we do are better than they've ever been before.
Is there is there a good example of that?
My favorite one we do each year is our Oktoberfest platter. It's our Marzen that we do, and then we pair it with German sausages, pretzels that we make in-house, mustard that we make in-house. That's kind of my favorite, but we do also do some elevated ones. Valentine's Day is usually a pretty popular one. We do elevated desserts, and pair it with whatever we want to do that year as far as beverage wise. Some of our other popular ones we've done recently. Let's see, we did Christmas Vacation recently as a fan fest. That one is always fun. Those types of films are always fun. We have The Big Lebowski coming up. That one's not a beer so much because you can't not do a White Russian. So we're pairing a White Russian with that one. But yeah, we do have a lot of fun with them. And our film that we try to do with these are either really great first release films or just some of the really fun, nostalgic throwback films. So it's a great way for us to kind of work together to put out a really good pairing for people.
Yeah. And then when it comes to specific beers, I every couple of months there's a movie that people get hyped about long in advance. Or I'm even thinking a couple of summers ago when you had Oppenheimer and Barbie coming out on the same weekend, and people are like, it's the return of the cinema, and people are kind of excited. And I know all of the fellow nerds. Every time there's a new comic book movie comes out, we're there at the 11 a.m. Friday showing. With all of the other half-employed folks. And do you all think about special beers or, recipes or something that, tie into some of that hype, for some of the bigger movies that come out?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. So we have a national seasonal coming out for Super Mario.
Really?
And yeah, so we're going to be doing it at all of our units. It is a starfruit sour.
Clever.
So it's going to be Rosalina's starfruit sour, working
Okay.
in the color component of blue, which is pretty prominent with her, and then
It
the
is.
stars, of course. So Rosalina's is going to be one that I think is going to hit with that demographic very well. Super Mario, beer wise, did fantastic for us on the first release. And in addition to that, we're also it is still there's gonna be a lot of kids, so we do also do craft sodas in house as well. So
Okay.
we have peaches pink lemonade that we're doing for that as well.
Okay. And that makes sense, right? Because I'm thinking of Super Mario as a kids movie. Then I'm sure the parents will enjoy the Rosalinas.
Yeah, well,
But you can't
it's
forget about,
kids.
yeah.
Yeah, it's kids and big kids for this one.
Okay. Um, do you all work with studios on some of these things, or is that not
Yeah, we do. Yep.
okay?
Usually the conversation is more so about naming and making sure that it works for them and it
Okay.
doesn't, infringe on their IP or hurt their IP in any way. But we do get feedback pretty often from the studios.
Okay.
And we have some studios that love what we do, and every Christmas, one of them in particular requests some beer. So we get to work with them on getting them some fun pairings for them to do for like their holiday party and stuff like that. So definitely, we try to keep those relationships really good, and it's usually pretty easy as well. They like what we do.
Yeah. Um, that's really neat. I asked you this before we went on, and I was saying it half jokingly, but is it frustrating being around all of the diacetyl smells from the popcorn machine while you're in the brew house?
One thing that I do, or that's part of my job, is doing the brewery build outs. And I first thing I always joke about with our architects and engineers is the make sure there's absolutely no spillover from the kitchen into the brewery and HVAC as tight as possible because it actually does. It happens, and every once in a while you do have to catch yourself. And if you're at the bar and we're popping popcorn at the time, you do have to kind of catch yourself. So when we do our sensory, we are usually doing it in the brewery away from the kitchen because it actually is a thing that we do run into.
Yeah. Do you find that you're able to introduce people to different beers at your bars? Like you can't get other people's beers, right? Like there's no Bud Light on draft.
We don't do macros. We
Okay.
do local breweries though. So
Okay.
we do carry anybody usually in state. So in Indiana, we mostly only carry in Indiana beers as our guest drafts, and that's usually just filling in what we don't do. So things like double IPAs, stouts, some barrel aged beers, things that we don't make or don't make as often. That's usually what we'll bring in from our friends locally
Okay.
just to fill in to make sure everyone has something that works for them. Because at most of our units, so our Carmel, Indiana location, for example, we have I think it's 68 faucets, and some of our others were anywhere from 30 to 50, but Carmel is one where we have the most. Um, so we do have a lot of other offerings. So we try to give them as much of what they want.
So I guess, in some cases, small breweries can be an educational outlet for, different beer styles or flavors or things like that. I imagine when folks come, mainly to escape with the silver screen, um, there's not as many opportunities for that education. What have you found that works that sort of communicates what it is that you all do and what you're pouring into people's cups, um, that might be different from like a normal, four-walled
Yeah,
non-movie
so
theater brewery? Yeah.
I think what's probably the most similar is we do have our bar front. In all of our units, it is a pretty substantial bar. And we do get a number of people who stop there first, especially if they have questions and if they're really interested in seeing what we have. They'll usually stop there first. Our bar staff is very well trained. One thing about a company of our size is our education that we're able to do is, significantly better than a smaller operation. So we have the resources to get those apps in front of every single one of our team members to make sure they're getting all the information that they need. So once we get past that bar, though, and they go into the theater, we do have, the pre-show where they're able to communicate and talk with their servers to go over anything like questions about beer or potential allergies, things like that. And they're able to get as much information at that point as that they can. After that, we do, put as much detail into our menus that we do via app as well, so that they can get as much information while they're ordering that they can. So, in addition to that, we do all the normal stuff. We hold beer classes for all of our servers and bar staff, and make sure they're up to date. And then we also have communication streams with them where every time we tap a new beer, our brewers will post in those streams to let the entire team, you know, thousands and thousands of people now across the country in our various teams know all the beers that we have, just about the second that they're tapped.
I like that. Um, as you sort of think about the 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 growth that the company is going in right now, and I mentioned some of those headwinds that's in the craft space early on, and some of the things that I read, like it seems like this type of experience is working, for folks, because it's not just you know popcorn, large soda, sit in a sticky theater. Like there's some life to it. There's other things to do. Like you can sit at the bars you're talking about, or there's these movie tie-ins that allow for creativity, and can get people to you know, maybe try different things or come back a little bit. And I know you guys have just gone through taking on some new locations, but I mean, what is the future looking like for you guys?
It also kind of goes back to I dig into data probably more than most in both of the industries, and I'm actually very optimistic about the direction we're going in both industries. So, if we look back to post COVID for Flicks, we've grown every year. I don't know many other cinema chains that can say that. We have, and not just by stores, our number of admits have grown per store each year. So we on the theater side are doing things a lot of other people are not. On the beer side, this past year, 2025 was the scariest that we'd had so far. But luckily, again, because I dig so far ahead, we knew what to expect. So we started doing some of these things like our craft sodas, hop waters, things like that. So when we took that segment of the manufacturing that we also took on with beer, we actually grew by about 4.5% year to year.
Wow.
So, when we look at the data going forward, as we look at 2026 purchases at retail and distributor for the end of Q4, we're finally seeing stabilization, maybe even hinting towards a little bit of growth. We're not talking growth like we were, pre-pandemic, but we are talking about stabilization, which we knew was going to happen, right? It had to happen eventually. It wasn't going to, the world wasn't falling. It just had to, we were kind of self-correcting a little bit. So, we are very optimistic. This year is going to be our best year for film, and it's also already panning out to be our best year for beer as well, especially when we include some of the non-alcoholic options that we've added in. So I'm actually very optimistic about both industries' path forward. I'm extremely confident in our path forward because, again, our hospitality is just second to none.
That's really cool. I mean, it's heartening to hear numbers like that, and that folks are getting out of the house and drinking beer and sitting together. Like that's really
Yeah,
fun.
and it also goes back to we are an experience, right? It is kind of the trend of the industry, right? That you have to have something else. So you used to be able to open a brewery with no food, and any longer, that's I I would never suggest that anymore. Um, and you see more and more breweries opening with duck pin bowling and experiences because you do to get people out of the house. You do have to give them something a little bit more now. So the fact that we have the movie theater and have that experience is really a big part of how we're able to keep doing what we're doing.
So before I let you go, I've been asking this question on the show for a while. Premise is that on the television show, which is not a movie, but a television show, the small screen, not the big screen, TV show The Good Place. In the final season, they introduced the concept of a green door where the characters can walk through it and be wherever they want, doing whatever they want. So if we had a green door on our plane of existence and this conversation ended and you could walk through it and be at any pub or any brewery anywhere in the world, where would you want to go? Who would you want to be with? And what would you like to be drinking?
It's a total cliche, but I'd go to Flick's Brew House. I would go to
Oh,
Flick's Brew
man.
House in 2 years is what I would do.
Okay.
Because I'm that confident and optimistic about where we're going to be in 2 years. Um,
And you're excited about Avengers Doomsday. I get it.
film in general, I'm very excited about. There have been so many delays in film and cinema for all the reasons, and we're finally starting to get to some of the things that have been kicked back even from 2019. So I know it's cliche, but I would go to Flick's Brew House and I would bring back from the crypt one of the beers that we used to do every year. And I don't want to give a spoiler, but might be coming back is Saison de Walt. It was a beer we made in memory of Walt Powell after he passed, and it is a barrel-aged mixed fermentation Saison. We've won countless awards with it, from GABF World Beer Cup to our local places and all the other competitions in between. And it is just one of the most spectacular beers that I've ever had. And I got the experience of getting to watch the latest trilogy of Star Wars with Saison de Walt. And that was just one of my favorite core memories of my life. And if I could do it again in 2 years and knowing the trajectory that we're going, that's what I would do.
Okay. I like it. Give people the website that they can go to find all of the locations and follow along with everything that you guys are doing.
So socials, we have great new person, Ellie in-house doing our socials. So I strongly recommend following us on Facebook and Instagram. We do have accounts for each individual unit. So you'll want to follow the one that's closest to you. You can also follow the Flick's Brewhouse account that's based out of Round Rock, and we do pretty much most of the updates in there as well. But definitely follow us on the socials, and then flicksbrewhouse.com. That'll automatically bring you to the store that's closest to you to book tickets and see what is on tap near you.
Awesome. Josh, thanks for doing this. Thanks. Congrats on all the growth. And I'm like excited to go, to the movies again. It's and now I want you guys to open up in my neighborhood. So come to Jersey, expand east. But thanks for doing this.
Hey, thank you, John. Appreciate it.
A reminder, you can reach me anytime by email. It's johnholl@allaboutbeer.com. That's JOHNHOLL at allaboutbeer.com. Make sure you join the This Week in Rauch Beer group on Facebook or follow at TW Rauch Beer on Instagram. Upload your photos, join the conversation. And you can support us by visiting allaboutbeer.com/support. When you're at the website, you can check out new content as well as the archives, which go all the way back to 1979. There's also the links on the site to follow All About Beer on social media. Before we run, here's a note from this episode's sponsors. We thank them for their support. We hope you'll give them your business.
Tim here again from Berkeley Yeast. My favorite part about Tropics in a dried format is that it makes it easy to use Tropics more like an ingredient than a yeast strain. It's a great tool for turning tropical flavors up or down. Tropics on its own makes big notes of passionfruit and grapefruit, which is great for a lot of recipes, but sometimes you want to dial that thiol character down. Easy. You can just co-pitch at different rates with your house strain. If you want to dial it up, especially if you're using a pretty aggressive hop bill, then just add Tropics Boost. It's pure precursors dissolved in water and ethanol. Go to berkeleyyeast.com to find out how to turn the thiol dial to exactly where you want it.
Calling all hopheads. Dogfish Head 60-Minute IPA is a fantastically hoppy India Pale Ale that's beautifully balanced thanks to their unique continual hopping method. Delivering a pungent hop flavor that isn't crushingly bitter, 60 Minute is continually hopped throughout the boil for a full 60 minutes. Starting to see where the name comes from? Check out dogfish.com to learn more and to find some 60 Minute near you. Dogfish Head Craft Brewery.
If you like smart audio
Please drink
content, a
responsibly.
reminder that All About Beer has a separate podcast channel. Search and subscribe on your podcast platform of choice. You can listen to shows like Brewer to Brewer, which is now a weekly show, the All About Beer podcast with Don Tess and M. Souter, and Steal This Beer still has new episodes every Monday. The BYO Nano podcast comes out on the 15th of every month. And as for this show, Nate Schweber does the music, Jeff Quinn designed our logo. I'm John Holl. New episodes release every Wednesday, and that's when I'll be back again to drink beer and to think beer.